Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tito Jayo Diriat Nishta Prayeshu Bhadvesu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Tamashoki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Nishta Prayeshu Bhadvesu Nityam Bhagavata Tamapia Davishuta Vishutam Vibhu Samyapyarena Vidam Vidoxitam Prakyahiduhor Mohora Aditadmanam Sankleshana Vadamusanti Nanyataham Anarto Pachamam Shakshad Bhakti Yogam Logasha Janacharo Chakri Satpade Saumitam Atmanamastimunia Nagranti Kuru Korbanti Upiya Itam Bhutam Guna Hari Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinu Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Jayatam Surito Pango Mamamanir Matirgati Matsavasha Padambo Jaradhanamada Mohano Seaman Rasarasarambi Vamsivara Karsan Venushana Bhaka Gopinata Sri Siddha Divyad Brindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Shima Shanisto Shri Sirada Shilage Vindedevo Prasalabihi Sevimanushmanami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanyitaya Cha Jigaditaya Krishnaya Govinaya Namo Namaha Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Gudaudaja Mangalam Panarikaksho Mangarayatano Hari Om Narayanaya Vimhi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Chavidmahi Vishnu Padni Chadimhi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastuvyam Sare Sare Hari Priya Namastuvyam Nayadire Tapta Kanchana Gaurangir Hari Vindavadeshwari Vishavana Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutare Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurumani Pacharini Nirvishesa Sonibari Praskatate Sara Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning. Vaninath, Haribo, Bye Bobby, Brent, Rob on Zoom. Welcome, one and all, to Wisdom Wednesday. Let me just, oh no, I won't be able to find any time, but there's a passage, I believe it's from the Krishna book, 10th canto. I can verify that when next we meet. But it's Mother Yashoda's churning butter and singing songs about Krishna. Now, these are songs that she's composed herself. She's taken the basic elements of the stories of Krishna's pastimes, his sporting with the gopis and interacting with the animals and the elders and killing demons sent by Kamsa. And in order to remember those better and to profitably pass her time, to make the best investment of her time, she's not just relying on memory, capricious and whimsical as memory is, being associated with the mind. But Prabhupada explains how it is that she's singing her own songs. She's gone ahead and she's isolated the different pastimes of Krishna, and she's pondered them, and she's sat down at some point and matched up rhyming words and put it into a meter. And then she's practiced. Anybody who's memorized anything knows that memorization is a misleading term. It's not like we sit down and in one session we commit it to memory. I mean, you can, but it's not lasting. It won't stick with you. You have to repeat, you have to repeat, you have to repeat, you have to repeat, you have to repeat over and over until it becomes part of you. So you can say it without even thinking about it. It becomes mindless, which is a good thing. Because when the mind has to think about it, the mind will trip, the mind will mislead you. Mind is not always our best friend. You have to go beyond the mind. You have to embed it within your very spirit. I've composed a song recently about Prahlad Maharaj and the Shringadev. In ancient lore, we're told the story of a 5-year-old boy whose faith in Krishna was firm and bold, ignited within the womb. Love of Krishna shone like the moon. Krishna's name Krishna's name filled his soul while his father's vicious, vicious rage unfolded. That's the first line. And that's memory. You see, I've stumbled because I'm trying to remember. Hiranyakashipu, his father Hiranyakashipu, a demon king, demanded worship and decreed that everyone his praises sing, but Prahlad, soul, wanted to be free. The father used threats and torments to break his son, his soul to destroy. Though poisoned, trampled, thrown in the ocean, Prahlad's devotion was never broken. Through every trial, he stood fast. The Lord protected him as he passed every test. Even Holika, the demoness of fire herself, was burned on a flaming pyre. To kill the demon, the Lord appeared from a pillar with a mighty roar. Naimisharanya, half man, half lion, tore the demon's body apart. Prahlad pleaded with Nisringa, a tear in his eye. Lord, please hear my cry. Though my father was blinded by pride, uh, consumed by darkness, consumed by hate, break the darkness and let mercy preside. Prahlad's devotion conquered all. The Lord made an exception for his father, and out of his broken body, he gave redemption for the soul. May Prahlad's story forever be told. Prahlad's story never be sold. His devotion remained untamed. His devotion remained untamed in spite of a demon king's rage. His faith was untamed to fight a demon king's rage. His devotion was his armor, come what may. May and I forget, there's another, Krishna's names never left his lips. May the fame of those who proclaim the glories of the Lord live forevermore. So that was memorization. You can see how I halted and everything. But the reason that I was able to bring up as much of it as I did after, only 48 hours after composing is because I've been repeating it over and over again while driving, while on the treadmill, while walking back and forth, just repeat it until, and I'm going to continue doing that until I don't have to think about it. And then you won't have all those stops and starts. So imagine Mother Yashoda, an eternally liberated soul, so exalted, she has the Supreme Personality of Godhead as her own son. He appears and enacts the role of her own son. And she's actually taking the time, of course, with a spiritual mind and without the impediment of a material mind, it might not take nearly as long as it does for such as us, but she is repeating over and over and over again the lyrics to her songs, committing them to memory or beyond memory, committing them to her. They're integrating within her very essence, her very core. When you do enough poetry and you make Krishna's pastimes your own, you claim them with creativity and lyricism, it actually becomes part of you. Krishna becomes part of you. You find yourself in the middle of the night running through lines of a poem, sharing with guests. Hardly a guest comes. I don't have any conversations with guests that last more than 10 minutes where I don't come out with a poem, because it's just, when I look in your eyes, I see a shining soul. When I look in your eyes, I see a spirit soul. I see a soul that's never born, a spark and never dies. Your supply back home back. Whether we're talking about demigods and then Ganesh, or whether we're talking about great heroes of faith like Gajendra or Ambarish Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, it just comes out. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that this is the way to become Krishna conscious. This is the way to become consumed in thoughts of Krishna, by dovetailing the creative power which we all have. I would have never thought of myself as a rap or artist or a lyricist, but wanting on some level, as insincere as I am, to become Krishna conscious, I've arrived at this point where always thinking of new lyrics and new songs. So having said that, um, I want to encourage you. We're on the 8th canto, 3rd chapter, 4th verse. And I want to encourage you as we move through these prayers of Gajendra, I want to encourage you to take the prayers as Prabhupada has translated them and then render them into your own words, ideally with lyric, rhythm and poetization. And you can use AI. AI is a good way to start. Sometimes the hardest part of the creative process is beginning, putting pen to paper, coming up with it. Go ahead and put into AI, some seed terms, see what they come up with, and then correct it, and then make it yours. Make it yours. So I encourage everyone to do that. That's your homework as we move through these verses. And I think we'll all come up with some very, very handy ditties and lyrics and songs and raps that will help us all increase our Krishna consciousness. So here's the translation of the 4th verse from the 3rd canto. It's a prayer by Gajendra. And this is how it's translated by Prabhupada from the Sanskrit. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding his own energy, keeps this cosmic manifestation visible and again sometimes renders it invisible. Bhutpa, bhutpa praliyate. Sometimes it's manifest and sometimes it's unmanifest. Prabhupada gives the example of anger. We all have anger within us, but sometimes it's unmanifest and sometimes it's manifest, but anger is always there. Okay, continuing on. He is both the supreme cause and the supreme result. He is the observer and the witness in all circumstances. Thus, he is transcendental to everything. May that Supreme Lord give me protection. Okay, now here is my version. And you're welcome to add your version to it as well. And let me just share here. Bobby seems to be contradicting me here, as usual. Mother Yashoda sings spontaneously. Her repetition is overwhelmingly joy. Be that as it may, through practice or through spontaneous joy. That's probably the difference between ourselves and Mother Yashoda. We have to get through all these layers of apathy and these layers of darkness and layers of ignorance in order to push the shoot, the creeper, into the light of day. Imagine, the seed of Krishna consciousness is there, but it's buried under all these layers of ignorance. And so we have to push up. It can be mechanical, it can be repetitive. I must have listened to this song about Prahlad 150 times yesterday to get to the point where I am, because, it's an upward battle. It's going against the stream. We're in the material world. We have all these material coverings. Bobby points out that I shouldn't compare myself to Mother Yashoda because she, in all likelihood, not having to contend with the pushback, the contrary forces, she in all likelihood spontaneously comes up with these lyrics. But there's a good indication from what Prabhupada says that she goes back to the same lyrics over and over again. Having found the right wording, the right expression, then that's her default setting. And so we want to arrive at that same point. Mother Yashoda arrives at it, obviously, a lot more trouble-free and quickly and naturally and spontaneous than we do, but that's our process. Yena gata sapanta. We follow the path of the previous acharyas. And you can take the fruit of prayers by great souls, and you can memorize those, but you can also make it your own. That's what sticks. That's what's going to help you pass the minutes, the seconds, the hours, the days, the months, the years, and that's what's going to result in you lying on your deathbed, about to make that final transition, and you'll be successful because your consciousness is in the spiritual world and not in the material world. That's where you're going to go. Here we have something from Natasha. In the heart of timeless tales, woven tight, where devotion spills its light so bright, a canvas broad with colors divine, unfurls the dance, the cosmic spine. From the Srimad Bhagavatam's sacred breath, the third canto's wisdom, not shadowed by death. Fourth verse speaks a quiet plea of sages seeking truth's decree. They gather round in earnest quest in Naimisharanya, hearts abreast, a forest deep where time stands still. I like that. A forest deep where time stands still. That's nice. They gather round in earnest quest in Naimisharanya, hearts abreast, a forest deep where time stands still, to drink the nectar divine will distilled. Tell us of time, both vast and grand. Oops, I missed the place here. Tell us. Where am I? Something clicked here. Okay. Tell us of time, both vast and grand, of universes in Krishna's hand, how they appear and disappear, the play of Maya drawing near. Sudha listens. Their words resonate in tales of cosmos they anticipate. The story unfolds of cosmic dance where Krishna's flute beckons a trance. Within his verse, a universe breathes of energy that constructs and weaves. Krishna's play a divine art, binding eternally every heart. So seeker find in those ancient lines a path where truth and beauty enshrine. For here lies the key of divine embrace in Krishna's world, his endless grace. Nice. A lot of that's AI. We know that. And I wouldn't leave it as it stands. I would encourage you to go through that and again, make it your own, tweak it. Some of those verses are absolutely keepable. They're absolutely keepable. And some of those verses need a little bit of working on based on your level of knowledge and your level of advancement. But this is definitely what I'm talking about, you know. It gives you the starting point. It gives you the tree, the outline on which to tweak things and change things and put in your own words and make it your own. And then uh, and then repeat it and repeat it. Let this be so embedded and ingrained in you in due course of time that these words and these thoughts kind of spontaneously erupt. When that happens, you're going to have a big smile on your face. You're going to be you're going to be out of the starting gates. You're going to become obsessed with creativity and Krishna consciousness. So thank you for that, Natasha. It's not a finished product, but it is a really, really good starting point. So anyway, here's what I have put again, and again, this is just initial. There's so many things I'm working on right now. This is a, poetic version and a contemporary version of that same verse. The reason, the result, the start and the end, sees everything, knows all, my ultimate friend. This is Gajendra speaking about Krishna. The reason, the result, the start and the end, sees everything, knows all, my ultimate friend, above this world, but watches it still, transcends the limits, his power and will. The Alpha Omega, the reason it spins, all seeing, all knowing, where power begins. Outside the game, but he knows every play. Transcendental flow, yeah, he leads the way. With a glance of the Lord, the universe takes form. From cosmic dust, a world is born. His energy flows, creation unfurls. But with another glance, the visible world swirls. The cause and effect he's woven within. Every beginning, every end, where we've been. His eyes on the sparrow, his eyes on my soul. Transcendent observer, he knows the whole. And this is a refrain. Supreme personality, beneath your gaze, I seek your wisdom to walk righteous ways. A glance of protection, a glance of pure grace. May the Lord's light shine upon my face. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take each verse and we're going to work with it. We're going to play with it. And in the process, it's going to rub off on us. We're going to become more Krishna conscious by our creative endeavors. This segment is called The Beautiful Smile of the Lord. We talked yesterday about how Kunti's life and all of her troubles resulted in her getting the cryptic smile from the Lord. And she called it a small price to pay. All the troubles that she'd endured, she called them a small price to pay in order to bask, literally bask is the best word, in the smile, the approval of Krishna. We also quoted a Caru who said that those who are not recognized by Krishna are pitiable. It's hard to imagine any usefulness for their lives of those who are not recognized by Krishna. Of course, Krishna knows each one of us intimately. He created us. He's our Father. He knows us better than we do. But when we speak of being known or not known by Krishna, that's according to our own level of surrender. As we surrender, he rewards us accordingly. If we have no interest in serving Krishna, or if to serve, you have to know that that's a prerequisite. You can't give somebody what you like. You have to find out what they like, and then it becomes service. Otherwise, it's something else, but it's not service. So if you don't take the time to find out the name, form, pastimes, and paraphernalia of the person who created you and all other living beings, your children, your wife, your boss, your coworkers, your countrymen, members of your species, all living beings. If you're so dull, stuck in the mud that you are having the slightest interest in any of these things, then you don't know Krishna, and he rewards you accordingly. So it can be said he doesn't know you. So you see the sense in which I'm speaking. But he knew Kunti. He knew he's basically, a smile is saying, I know you, I've known you, I created you, I've been with you. Times you've forgotten me, I've not forgotten you. And he's affirming that. His glance, his smile is the full affirmation that we are his. We are his, and nothing will ever change that. I heard a story of a family sitting down at this Thanksgiving dinner, and one boy wouldn't come to the table. He's sitting over in a corner. He said, Jimmy, come and join the family. He says, oh, I'm not worthy. So the mother, the father, everyone starts laughing. What are you talking about? You didn't become this, you didn't do anything to become part of this family. There weren't qualifications. There wasn't an application and a review process and an acceptance or rejection. It wasn't like getting into college. You were born into this family. You've always been a part of this family. You've always had the same last name, and there's nothing you can do that will change that. You'll always be a part of this family. You'll always have the last name. So get your butt over here at the table. Similarly, we are always parts and parcels of the Lord. The Lord claims us. But if we reject that, if we turn our backs on that, then it can be said of us, the Lord doesn't know us. And it can be said of us, we are pitiable. We are pitiable. Akura's hair is standing on, and he's got goosebumps. He's driving the chariot to Mathura. Sure, he's on a mission from Kamsa. Kamsa wants to kill Krishna. Akura is not so concerned about that. He knows that Kamsa can never kill Krishna. He has that confidence. Just like the cowherd boys, when they walked into the belly of Aghasura demon, which was our discussion yesterday. You could say, oh, they didn't know what they're doing. They didn't recognize the demon was so big. They couldn't identify him as a malevolent force and all. But come on, when they started going in his mouth, there was all this bad breath coming out, these toxic odors. They surely suspected that all is not what it seems. This is more than just a mountain cave. But they went ahead. They knew there was danger. They knew there was something not quite right. They knew there was something rotten in the state of Braj, but they went ahead because they had no worries, Mike. They knew that Krishna was there. Krishna knew them. Krishna knew them because he knew Kunti and he knew the Pandavas. He always appeared to rescue them from their house being burned, arson, from their wife being insulted, from their brother being poisoned, from a vast army mustering with the sole purpose of killing them. Krishna knew them. And when Krishna knows you, quote unquote, no negative force can lay a hand on you. Kunti asked Krishna before the battle of Kurukshetra, there's going to be an army of 4 million soldiers mustered to face Arjuna, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula, Sahadev. There will be other soldiers accompanying the Pandavas, but the main purpose of the Kaurava army is to kill those 5. The focus of all 4 million soldiers will be to kill my 5 sons. When my 5 sons are done, doesn't matter who else survives, who else is left standing, the battle will be won by the forces of evil. And amongst those 4 million soldiers were 7, see if we can name them, Ashwatthama, Duryodhana, Karna, Dronacharya, Bhima. There's 5. There's 5 at least, 5 Maharajas. I believe there are 7 Maharajas altogether. If you know them, go ahead and put their names in the chat section here, in the comment section. So amongst the 4 million soldiers, there were 7 Maharajas. You get called a Maharaja when you can kill 10,000 ordinary soldiers in one day. So there are 7 Maharajas. So there's 70,000 Pandava soldiers that can be killed on one day. And once again, they're all focused primarily, first and foremost, they will pass over an opportunity to kill any other member of the Pandava army, including generals and kings, if they have a shot at Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva. So as a mother, you can imagine Kunti's concern. And my boys are going to be the prime target of the Kaurava army. And so she asked Krishna, Krishna, can you grant me the boon that they, some or other against all odds, survive the Kurukshetra war? And after the 18-day battle, in which every single member of the Kaurava army was killed except for 3, Ashwatthama, Kripacharya, and Kritavarna, and every member of the Pandava army is killed except for a handful. Actually, several thousand survived, but as they were sleeping at the end of the 18th day of the battle, Ashwatthama, Kritavarna, and Kripacharya slaughtered them mercilessly. So there were very few survivors in the end. There were quite a few survivors of the war, but survivors of the war did not survive the horrible, vicious attack, nighttime, after dark attack by those 3 warriors. But Kunti said, she said that the moon may one day become hot, and one day the sun may become cold. But what Krishna promises will always come to pass. Krishna promised me that my sons would emerge unscathed from the conflict at Kurukshetra, world war, in which altogether practically over 6.4 million soldiers participated. They all perished with very few exceptions, but because Krishna promised it, my sons have crossed over that dangerous ocean. So Krishna will always adhere to the promises of his devotees. And so Kunti talks about the beautiful smile, Krishna. The beautiful smile indicates that Krishna, quote unquote, knows you. He's got your back. His wind is behind your sails. This we find in the 3rd canto, 8th chapter, which I believe is the prayers of Kunti. Mukhena lokarti hara. Mukheno is the beautiful face, the mukha, like a lotus flower. How beautiful is a lotus flower? Mukhena lokarti hara. Hara is distress. Lokarti means all kinds of troubles that we may encounter, and hara means the savior, one who removes us or saves us or rescues us from death. Shmitena, while rescuing his devotees from the most extreme and dangerous of circumstances, Krishna always has Shmitena. He always has a smile on his face, no matter how dark or turbulent or dangerous the situation. Krishna's always got it covered. He's always in control. In fact, he's the director. He makes things look bad intentionally so that he can show his power in a greater way. He made it look like that's all she wrote for the Pandavas. All that was stacked up against him at Kurukshetra, the odds makers, the bookies wouldn't have been given the Pandavas 100-to-1 odds. That's all she wrote. The odds are overwhelmingly against you. Krishna himself, as the supreme director and producer of this movie, made it look as bad as possible so that when his devotees survived and Krishna was able to keep his promise to Kunti, people say, wow, how did that happen? I didn't see that coming. But Krishna's not disturbed by circumstance because he's the one that created the circumstances. There might be a big storm, big rainstorm, or tornado or something. It harasses the denizens of a particular town or village or county. We hear about it the next day on the news. So many houses were destroyed. Maybe even 1 or 2 people lost their lives. But the sun is not affected by what happens down here. The sun created the clouds, which created the storm, but the sun is not taken by surprise. And sun's not going to say, well, I didn't see that coming. Sun's not going to be affected by it. So Krishna is never crestfallen, chagrined at circumstances because he is the director. You know, these Alfred Hitchcock movies, I don't know if you see any of their classics. The one curiosity, does anybody know? Can anyone write down in the chat here? What's the one characteristic of an Alfred Hitchcock movie? I'll give you guys a few minutes here. What's the one quirk? What's the one thing that people always note? They look for it. There's this whole movie and they're looking at the movie. It might be Psycho, it might be Birds, it might be whatever it is, Vertigo or whatever. And they're looking for this one thing that Alfred Hitchcock does in every single movie. Does anybody know? Give you a moment. Now, Alfred Hitchcock, you know, he's people say he's a great producer. Every single thing, the actors themselves were chosen by him. They were trained by him. The location, the costumes, the script, the delivery of the script, the nuances, the expressions, everything was scripted by Alfred Hitchcock. Yes, thank you, by Bobby. Britta says surprise twist. Yeah, of course. I mean, he's a master of suspense. So yes, of course, that's true. But what I was referring to is that he appears in every one of his movies. And it's funny because, the hero and the heroine could be walking along the street and they're having this very intense conversation. And there's this little fat fellow with a double chin, looking in a window. He's got his 3/4 turned away. He's looking in a window. He's just a window shopper. And you don't even necessarily see, but maybe 1/4 of his face, but from his pear-shaped form and his double chin that this is Alfred Hitchcock. And he appears as a insignificant element of the movies. He has nothing to do with this branch, nothing to do with the drama. But in another sense, it's all him. It's all him. So similarly, Krishna appears like a bit player. I was in Los Angeles for a number of years, by Bobby will tell you. And every once in a while, we'd pick up a part in a movie. They'd want some Hare Krishnas to be chanting or in background. So they've had various pay scales. We weren't members of the Actors Union, so that knocked down the pay right there. But then there were, you were just there. You were just there, and they just pass you by, and so then you'd get, because you had to wait around all day. For a 30-second piece, you had to sit around and wait until they did everything else, and then they'd call you, and then they'd do it, and maybe have several takes. So it was at least a half a day. So you get good pay. You get a few $100s, but you had a certain pay level if you didn't speak. And then if you chanted, if they wanted you to chant, and that was considered a speaking role, then you get twice as much. So according to the value, the cameo appearances of Alfred Hitchcock didn't even merit the lowest pay scale. He was just standing there. He never had a vocal role. He never had a spoken role. He was just one of the what they call the extras. And yet, in a more real sense, he was everything. It says Yasha Deve Rishyam Parambarum Jantam Punanti Koreataram Yashavataram Sharam Durajar Kamahasamabatam. Says when Krishna appears on stage as an actor, when he appears as a historical personality within human history, as he did 5,300 years ago, when he appears and he acts his role, he was acting as the friend, the support, the counselor, the cousin, believe it or not, of Arjuna. And then he was their chariot driver. He was their messenger. He went on their behalf to plead peace to Durida. He did so many menial tasks. Parada Shevana Shokadosham Mukav Dasham Gadaram Mayasitaram Pujambara Abita Punja Punjam. No, that's a different person. Parada Sheva Shakara Sevara Shuka Berasharam Shnignishu Pandashu Jagat Pranitim Pranatam Chabishnu. He did all kinds of menial services for the Pandavas. He wasn't a major character. He wasn't on the marquee. He wasn't the headliner. He did bit parts. He was like an extra in the Mahabharata. And yet, Janma Karma Medavyam Evam Yoveti Chakvatam Jena Purnarjanmi. In the Bhagavad Gita, he says, if you understand how, even though he appears as in a minor role, quote unquote, he is in fact the be all and the end all. And that's how Krishna can smile. When Arjuna, the champion warrior, the veteran of hundreds and hundreds of battles, when Arjuna starts trembling and crying and shaking and dropping his bow and saying, Krishna, due to the debilitation, the disappointment, the depression I'm feeling at seeing my own relatives arrayed, prepared to kill me, I cannot fight, O Govinda. And then Krishna's response is to smile. In the teeth of the most suspenseful, dangerous circumstance, Krishna smiles because although he is playing the minor role of a chauffeur, he is also in the hearts of the enemies. He's in the hearts of the devotees. He's in the hearts of the non-devotees. He's the director. He's the Alfred Hitchcock, but much better looking. No double chin, no pear-shaped, just the opposite. This is Krishna. So he's smiling. He smiled. All the attacks on the Pandavas by their enemies, none of them threw Krishna. None of them disturbed Krishna because he was weaving. My life is but a weaving between my Lord and me. I cannot choose the colors, but he worketh steadily. He often weaves sorrow, and I in foolish pride forget he sees the upper and I the underside. Not till the loom falls silent and the shuttle ceases to fly will Krishna unroll the canvas and reveal the reasons why. The whole Mahabharata, 10 times longer than the Iliad, the Odyssey, is Krishna weaving on his loom. And we can't tell. When the weaver is weaving, we can't tell what the end result is going to be. Not till the loom falls silent and the shuttle ceases to fly. Not till he's done. Not till the fat lady sings. Not till God has the last word and ties everything up. I remember the beauty about Prabhupada's talks. I used to study Prabhupada's talks very carefully. I would take notes. I would go over them. I would ponder them. I would listen to them. I would try to emulate them. Prabhupada would speak for maybe 25 minutes, not too long. And he would start with a certain point, and then we'd go here, and he'd go here, and go there. And sometimes it seemed like he's going pretty far, to one way or another. He would wander, it would seem at times like, what's this got to do with the opening theme and this and that? And then in the last 3 or 4 sentences, he would bring it all together. Nothing had gotten away from him. Nothing. It might have seemed like that during the unfolding of the talk. Might have said, what's this got to do with this, and how does this? But Prabhupada was totally on top of the subject matter. And you realize that in the last 2 minutes, when he would bring this in, and he would bring this in, he would pull 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 this, and he said, thank you very much. And you say, wow, wow, it was all connected. My life is but a weaving between my Lord and me. I cannot choose the colors, yet he worketh steadily. He often weeps sorrow, and I in foolish pride forget he sees the upper night, the underside. Not till the loom falls silent and the shuttle ceases to fly will Krishna unroll the canvas and reveal the reasons why. The dark threads are as needful in the weaver's skillful hand as are the threads of gold and silver in the pattern that he has planned. So that's pretty much our time for today. But let me just finish the translation of this verse. Again, it's a beautiful prayer by Kunti. Mokena lokarti harashmitanam. Your face, your smiling face, Lord, which is there in the beginning, there in the middle, and there in the end, is the removal of distress. And your smiling face is carried at Parishparit Kundala Manditanam by beautiful earrings. Sonaya Tada Bimbaha Shah, and there are rays. Your lips are actually effulgent. There are rays of effulgence that come from your reddish lips. Pachara Tum Shunishina, and your nose and your eyebrows glow. This is the prayer that Kunti tenders to the ever-smiling Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, who, though he may appear to be peripheral or an extra to the great dramatic happenings, the great world-shaking happenings that occurred during the Mahabharata, he was actually the director, the producer. Everybody was marching according to the dictations of Krishna from within the heart, and it's no wonder that in his role as the chariot driver of Arjuna, the friend of Kunti and Draupadi and others, that he is able to smile throughout all of these earth-shaking historical circumstances. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Brent put it very nicely here, very succinctly. We could have just done this, and we could have had the whole talk in like 15 seconds, because Brent has summarized it all. Though he appears to play a minor role, Krishna is the director of everyone. So that's what I was trying to say. Thank you. Y'all could have saved 45 minutes. And it's the very last comment, of all the comments, it comes at the very end. If you said that in the beginning, Brett, of course, you couldn't have known what I was going to say. We could have all called it a day. Thank you. Nupane, Neupanags, Hare Krishna. Chris Castro, Chris Castro. Britta says, yes, every author loves to participate in their own creation. That tendency comes from Krishna. He's the Janmadhyasya, he's the source. So the strong motivations and tendencies that we have their origin in Krishna. Krishna just does it bigger and better than we could ever imagine. Chris says, the true teammate, I truly trust in the Lord against any battle. He knows I'm not perfect, and he knows I know I'm not perfect, but he knows I fear nothing with him on my side. He has got me through the hardest times of my life. These past couple of years after leaving the temple, I survived. Nice little testimony from Chris Castro. He's a volunteer here for about an entire year. He's one of our longest serving, continuous. We've had volunteers that might have added up to a year or more, but he was the one that served continuously. In fact, we've got Will Bridges was one of our original volunteers, and he's come back for the third time. And we also have here Max. Max was a volunteer earlier, and she's come back for the second time. But Chris was the longest he's got the record for the longest continuation. Now here's another contribution by Brent here. You have to rehearse to memorize a verse, practice through repetition until there's no omission. I like that. The words will become part of you when you know them through and through. The vibration just comes out, dispelling all doubt. When you think in this way, you will always pray. Your praise will become spontaneous with words extemporaneous. Very nice. I would tweak it just a little bit, but I think it's very, very, very expresses an extremely pertinent and sublime point. You have to rehearse to memorize a verse, practice through repetition until there's no omission. The words become part of you when you know them through and through. That part stays as it is. Could probably just tweak a little bit after that, but magnificent, magnificent. Whoa. Let me share once again, Natasha. This is beautiful. In the heart of timeless tales woven tight, where devotion spills its light so bright, a canvas broad with colors divine unfurls the dance of the cosmic spine. From the Srimad Bhagavatam's sacred breath, the third canto's wisdom not shadowed by death, fourth verse speaks a quiet plea of sages seeking truth's decree. They gather round in earnest question, Naimisharanya hearts abreast, a forest deep where time stands still, to drink the nectar divine will distill. Tell us of time both vast and grand, of universes in Krishna's hand, how they appear and disappear, the play of Maya drawing near. Sudha listens, their words resonate, in tales of cosmos they anticipate. A story unfolds of creation's dance, where Krishna's flute blackens a trance. Within this verse, a universe breathes of energy that construction weaves. Krishna's play a divine art, binding eternally every heart. So seeker find in those ancient lines a path where truth and beauty entwine, for here lies the key of divine embrace in Krishna's world, his endless grace. Yeah, people ask, what's the role of AI? You know, I'm starting to use AI more and more, not for the finished product, but to get started, to get out of the starting gate, to kick off, to trigger those creative juices. I'll take an IAI verse, and then I'll go through it line by line, word by word. And that's where the magic begins. You can kind of tell AI is AI, but once with your devotional experience and with your own unique perspective, you've gone through there and you've tweaked it and made it more accurate historically and poetically. That's the magic part of it. That's the magic part of it. So I encourage everyone, you can input certain words, certain prompts they're called, and then get the result. But then by all means, don't leave it there. Go in and according to your level of advancement and what you've learned, then make it yours. Make it yours. Okay, what else we've got? Name it Namarita. I don't want to prolong because it's already 20 past 8. Pragna and Yogesh from Texas. Natasha, hi Bobby, Maninath, thanks. Thanks everyone. It's 20 past 8. We'll wind it up there. I certainly enjoyed today's session. I got a lot of realizations from it, and I hope that you felt your time was well worth spent together. Thank you once again. Have a great rest of your day. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Rob, sorry. Please, the best comes last. Have you got some stuff for us?
I don't know about the best.
Sometimes I get so carried away with the sound of my own voice. I forget about the beautiful and upbeat way that you end all of our sessions together.
Well, the AI, it seems like Krishna is able to manifest through pretty easily.
But it's not. It is, but it isn't. You know, it takes a devotee. It takes a devotee, and it takes a devotee's heart and a devotee's mind to then really make it authentic, you know, to make it resonate. So it's a good tool. It's definitely a good tool. It's almost like a superpower, but like all superpowers, you have to use it responsibly.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking it's like a field. You know, Krishna gives us the seed, the sunlight, the water, the ground, but we have to be the ones to plant it.
Exactly, exactly. People talk about AI running away, having its own, taking off autonomously, independently. No, it's a tool, and like anything else, it can enhance you. It can be a superpower, literally. But then look at for every superhero, then there's there's a super bad guy. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
they've taken what could be a force for good and they've used it in the opposite way. So AI is just like anything else. It's how you use it that makes a difference.
Yeah.
What have you got?
Well, with all the poetry today, I
No,
had to kind of
no,
pick a few out.
what you speak, even though it's maybe more simple and without all the embellishments, it has an impact. Because it's coming from your heart. So everybody who's part of this forum could not do without your pithy sayings at the end. So please share.
I wasn't saying that. It's just that this class had so much poetry in it already. I didn't want to just take what was already spoken, but I did get a couple. So
Okay, super.
when when Krishna is known, love for him is sown,
To know him is to love him.
and the moon may become hot and the sun become cold, but what Krishna promises will always unfold.
Nice, beautiful, beautiful.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, what a beautiful way to end everything. Thank you all. I feel so honored and humbled, and I've got such great partners here in these sessions. So I will miss you until next Monday. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Rama.